Welcome to my channel, Phrontistery. If you like, please share and like this video. Thank you very much. After death, do we remember anything? Victorian séance, etiquette, and spirit calling cards. Hey guys, tonight we gather beneath the hush of flickering candlelight and velvet drapery in a parlor that never quite left the 19th century. The air is perfumed with lavender oil and forgotten sighs. Dust dances in shafts of light that seem to have no source. Everything here feels stitched from velvet, smoke, and memory. The wallpaper peels slightly in one corner, as if time tried to sneak out, but got caught mid-step. A clock ticks, but its hands don't move. This is a room the living abandoned, but the dead remember. And you wake up in it. You don't remember how you arrived. You don't remember what you were dreaming. You only know this: you are not alone. The parlor is circular. Heavy velvet curtains swallow the windows. A round table sits at its center, covered in thick lace and surrounded by 12 chairs. One remains empty. And that, of course, is yours. A single candle flickers in the middle of the table. The flame wobbles as if it's listening. Somewhere, a door creaks shut. No wind, no footsteps, just memory entering softly, like a cat that's lived 9 lives and still isn't satisfied. You look down at your hands, pale, still, not quite physical. You touch the table and feel a pulse. Not yours. The table breathes. You have not yet spoken, but something in the air already knows your name. You sit. The others around the table, men in waistcoats, women in corsets, a child in a white nightdress, don't look at you directly, but they know you're there. One smiles, toothless and serene. The candle flickers, and in the soft, musty hush, something begins to whisper. We were waiting for your memory to catch up. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You look up, and the candle flame stretches tall. The séance is about to begin. But it's not the living calling the dead. It's you, the recently arrived, trying to remember yourself. The candle breathes. So do you. Or something close to it. There's a rhythm here. Not quite a heartbeat, but something older. A pulse beneath memory. The table shivers once as the flame leans toward you, like it recognizes what you are, even if you don't yet. 12 shadows sit around the circle, and you make 13. This is the table with 13 shadows. Some say in Victorian séances, 13 was the sacred number, not of bad luck, but of balance. 12 guests, one unseen host, or perhaps 12 living, and one who'd forgotten they'd died. Now it's the opposite. You are the one who forgot, and these aren't the living. You notice the hands, some gloved in lace, some bare and freckled, one skeletal. They rest gently atop the table, not touching, but humming. Each hand emits a subtle tremor, like a silent tuning fork. The man to your left, he's in a morning suit, face powdered pale. He keeps adjusting a cufflink that's not there. The child opposite you draws invisible shapes on the tabletop, lips mouthing a rhyme lost to time. To your right, a woman holds a spirit trumpet in her lap. She never used it in life, but it was used on her more times than she'd admit. And the chair beside you, the one that always remains slightly misaligned, slightly chilled, feels both too empty and too full. Each guest brings a memory they died with. Each guest, a fragment of you. This is no séance of strangers. This is an assembly of your own soul's forgotten selves. The flame pulses again, once, twice, and then you hear it. A sound, soft and brittle, like the flap of an old envelope being opened by someone with trembling hands. From the center of the table, a small stack of cream-colored cards appears, calling cards. Each one with a name you almost recognize. You reach for the top one, but your hand goes straight through it. The woman with the trumpet nods. "They're not here for you to touch," she whispers. "They're here to touch you back." The calling cards flutter slightly, though no breeze moves through the parlor. They rest in the center like pressed petals. Delicate, precise, fragrant with forgotten names. This is calling cards from the living. In the golden age of séances, these cards were left behind by those still breathing, written in cursive ink, placed beside candles, tucked into coat pockets of the dearly departed. Not to summon the dead, but to remind them. Some traditions suggest the dead lose memories like coats in crowded hallways. The living leave breadcrumbs, not prayers, but names, hoping the soul remembers how to follow. Your eyes fall to the top card, a thick, cream-colored rectangle with gilded edges. The name glows faintly. It's your middle name, the one you never liked, but someone whispered every birthday with affection you never earned. You blink. The second card glows, this one smudged at the edges. A child's handwriting. You recognize it, not yours, but someone you held once, only once, and never again. You never knew they'd remember you. But the card says they did, more than once. You begin to feel the weight of these cards. Not heavy, intimate. Each one represents a whisper someone once made while staring into the dark, hoping it would reach you. I hope she's safe. I miss him. I wish I'd said thank you. A card at the bottom glows a soft indigo. You sense it's written in a language no longer spoken aloud. You reach for it, not with your hand, but with your presence. You feel it slide beneath your ribs. It says, "You don't remember me, but I remembered you long enough for both of us." Some scholars believe calling cards offered the soul direction, like scent does to a dog. Familiar, grounding, primal. Others think they were anchors, tethers meant to delay forgetting. You wonder if these were left for you, or by you. A final card lifts gently from the stack. It floats toward the woman with the spirit trumpet. She smiles softly and places it into the candle's flame. It doesn't burn. It glows. And the room begins to hum. Not with séance energy, but with memory's welcome. The glow from the candle stretches, thin and graceful, like a violin note poured into firelight. You lean forward. The card in the flame does not blacken, it blooms. Like paper dipped in invisible ink, the name expands, swirling across the page in lines you recognize before you even read them. They are yours, in your handwriting. But the words? You never wrote them. This is the medium's breath, isn't hers. She sits at the table, unmoving. The spirit trumpet still in her lap, one gloved hand resting upon it, the other suspended slightly in the air, as if she's about to conduct an orchestra only she can hear. Her mouth opens, and your thoughts, long buried, half-formed, whispered in passing, spill from her lips. She doesn't speak in your voice. She speaks in your silence. The words drift through the room like perfume. I never meant to leave without saying it. I forgave them long before they died. I remembered the dog's name even when I forgot my own. Each phrase lands gently. Each one undoes something that once knotted tight in your chest. The others around the table nod slowly. The child mouths the words with her, like she's known them forever. Some traditions suggest mediums are less conduits of spirits and more record keepers of echo. that they tune themselves to soul frequencies, like radios catching whispers from distant unfinished dreams. Others claim the best mediums don't summon ghosts. They listen to the spaces where ghosts already linger. The medium breathes again, and this time, your handwriting shifts into another's. It is careful, neat, looped in a style from long before you were born. A message addressed to you. It says, "You visited once, I never forgot. You wore blue, you smelled like ash and rosemary. You did not wear blue in this life, but you remember the scent. You remember you were the visitor. You were the ghost. And someone remembered. Even when you didn't. There it is again. A sound like someone politely clearing their throat from beneath the floorboards. Once, twice, then 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. You freeze. So do the others. Only the candle flame dares to move. This is door knocks from the other side. In Victorian séance lore, it was believed that 3 knocks from beyond signified a spirit's arrival. Not 1 or 2, that could be coincidence. But 3? That was intention. That was recognition. The table quivers, lace shivering beneath your palms. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, it isn't just from one direction. You feel it in your chest, then in your back, then under your ribs. A knock that echoes inward. Someone's trying to get through, and that someone is you. You remember vaguely that you once feared this sound. Not because of ghosts, but because it came in the dark when you were little. When you knew, without being told, that something wanted your attention. It wasn't the closet or the hallway. It was memory. Tapping, begging, softly to be let back in. You glance around the séance circle. The child has stopped drawing invisible shapes. She stares at the table, lips parted. The man in the morning suit has begun humming, an old funeral hymn, half a key too low. The woman with the spirit trumpet now leans forward, and then you hear a knock again. But this time, from inside the candle flame. Some scholars debate whether the knock is metaphor or phenomenon. Is it the soul knocking on its own vault, asking to be let out? Or is it someone from the other side knocking so we'll remember to listen? A folded piece of paper appears beside your hand. 3 tiny burns mark the corners. You unfold it. No words. Just a sketch. A door. With your own initials carved into the center. You trace it with your finger. And a memory slams into you. A time you were supposed to die, but didn't. Because you weren't ready. Because you refused. You kept the door shut. And now, it knocks back. The paper in your hand hums gently. Not from any movement. There's no breeze here, no wind to lift corners or carry whispers. It hums the way an old teacup hums when set upon an ancestral table. The way forgotten things often do. You hold it close, and the scent arrives. Sweet, floral, powdered, and slightly burnt. This is perfume of a life you denied. The aroma is unmistakable, something between roses and regret. Familiar, and yet elusive. It doesn't belong to this room, or even to this body. It belonged to you, once, but in a life you never dared to live. Across the table, the child sits up straighter, suddenly alert. Her eyes widen and she gasps softly. "I remember that smell," she says, though she doesn't explain how or why. Neither do you. But deep inside you know the truth. It's the scent of a version of you who chose yes instead of safe. A life left unlived, tucked behind all the practical decisions, all the expectations, all the rules you followed like railways. The scent coils around your wrist, and then The lace on the table shimmers. It shifts like water, revealing something beneath. A faded photograph, sepia-toned. You see a woman, or is it you? Standing in a doorway, mouth open in laughter, one hand pressed to her chest. Dressed for a party she never told anyone about. Her eyes wild, her perfume thick in the air. You blink and it's gone. Some traditions say the dead are offered not just review, but the experience of unlived echoes. Fragments of almost lives that still float within the soul's outer chambers, waiting to be named. Others believe those lives cling like fragrance. Subtle, persistent, sweet, and sad. You breathe in deeply. The scent doesn't fade. It grows warmer, more specific. You remember that dress, the velvet one, the one you touched but never bought. You remember the dance, the stranger, the invitation. You said no, and a lifetime disappeared like mist. The table is quiet, but the perfume lingers. Because desire doesn't die, it waits. The scent fades only slightly, replaced by something quieter. An almost silence that wraps around your bones like silk soaked in stillness. On the table before you, something appears, small, heavy, ticking. This is the watch that ticks backward. It looks like a gentleman's pocket watch, silver casing, cracked glass, a faint engraving on the back. To remember is to begin again. You reach for it, and this time your hand doesn't pass through. Your fingers brush the metal. It is cold. Then it clicks open. The hands tick counterclockwise. Tick, tick, tick. Each tick is a step back. Not just in time, but in meaning. You don't see hours or minutes. You see moments. That spilled ink in your childhood notebook. The shoe you left behind in the rain. A goodbye you didn't say loud enough. A secret you almost confessed, and didn't. The watch ticks faster. Around the table, no one speaks. They know this rhythm. Some say the soul, once freed, can walk backward through its life like a corridor of portraits. Not just to review, but to reclaim. Others suggest time in the afterlife folds inward, like lace creased in prayer, allowing forgotten seconds to return home. You hear the watch hum louder, and then you are in one of those moments. A garden. Twilight. The sound of cicadas. You are 10, or 11, or forever. You're sitting with someone you no longer remember, but loved with a kind of purity that makes the afterlife blush. They hand you a folded paper star. You take it. You say nothing. Neither do they. It's perfect, but you forgot it. Until now. Tick, tick. You're back at the table. The watch closes itself. Locks. Disappears. But the star? It's there. On your lap. Still folded. Still yours. Some things cannot be undone, but they can be unforgotten. There is no ticking now. Only hush. A velvet silence. Not empty, but attentive. Like a room that's leaning closer. You feel watched. Not by the guests around the table, but by something else. Something facing you. You look up, and there it is. A mirror. Oval, ornate, suspended in midair just beyond the candlelight's edge. This is the mirror that shows thought, not face. Some séance parlors were rumored to include spirit mirrors, tools used not for vanity, but for vision, for glimpsing what couldn't be spoken, what refused to be forgotten. This one doesn't reflect your features. There is no hair, no eyes, no mouth, only movement. And within that movement, you. But not the you of skin and voice. The thinking you. The doubting you. The repeating you like a prayer to know one version. You see a thought rise, a familiar one. I hope I didn't waste it. You don't remember when you last thought it, but it remembers you. Another one follows. Maybe they were right about me. It flickers, then warps. A third thought surfaces, sharp and quiet. If I had just been braver. The mirror hums, and your chest tightens. You step closer. Your reflection doesn't match your movements. It reacts to your awareness. And now the thoughts bend. They soften. A new one appears. You've never seen it before, but it's yours. I was never the mistake. I was the attempt. A warmth fills your throat. Gratitude? Grief? The mirror does not answer. It just keeps showing. Some say mirrors in the afterlife aren't objects, but beings. Gentle archivists of inner weather, offering what you most need to face. Others say the mirror is your last judge. But this one forgives you. Not in a voice, in a glance. You nod, and it vanishes, but not without a gift. Etched onto the table in faint gold. You are not your thoughts, but they still miss you. The golden script on the table glows once more, then softens into the lace as though it had always been woven there, waiting to be read. You blink. The candle flickers again, but this time it leans not forward or sideways. It bows. And from behind it, something folds into being. An envelope, cream-colored, sealed with a wax stamp that bears no crest, only a thumbprint. Your thumbprint. This is a letter you wrote after death. You don't remember writing it, but as you reach toward it, a familiar sensation pulses through your fingers, like returning to a house you dreamed of but never built. You touch the envelope. It's soft, still warm. You turn it over. Your name is written on the front. Not the name you were given at birth, but the one you only used when writing poetry you never showed anyone. The others at the table lean in just slightly, not with curiosity, with recognition. You break the seal. Inside, one sheet of paper, folded twice. When you open it, there is only a single sentence, written in your handwriting. It says, "I didn't want to go, but I knew I had to." The moment you read it, the room shifts, not physically, but emotionally. The floor feels softer. The shadows pull closer, but not darker. Like the room just exhaled something it didn't know it was holding. Some say the dead are given one chance to write to themselves across the veil. One last message to the self who might still be wandering. Others believe such letters are left behind as breadcrumbs, scattered through the dream world, to be found in moments of strange stillness. You place the letter on the table. It doesn't burn, it melts, into the lace, into the wood, into memory. The wax stamp remains, resting beside your hand, a thumbprint shaped like a promise. You were never really gone. You just needed a moment to write yourself home. The wax stamp lingers like a soft echo beside your hand, its warmth fading slowly, like the last line of a lullaby whispered behind a door now closed. But across the table, someone stirs. A woman. Or rather, the memory of one. She is more atmosphere than figure, shaped of veil and candlelight, with a gaze that holds the weight of multiple centuries. She says your name, not the name on your tombstone, not the one on your birth certificate, the name only she ever used. This is, she remembers you too well. Her voice is low, almost private. It has the hush of snow falling on letters you never sent. You don't remember her face, not fully, but something in her eyes grabs you. And suddenly, you are back. In a hallway soaked in oil lamp light. She's there, standing barefoot, her dress wrinkled from sleep. You're saying goodbye, but you don't want to. You remember the words caught in your throat, the ones that stayed there. You remember the space between her hand reaching for yours and your body stepping back. Not because you didn't love her, but because you did. Too much for your own peace. And now she's here again, not as punishment, as reminder. Some traditions suggest that in the afterlife, we are reunited not with people, but with the moments they held us best. Others say love becomes a room, and you visit it every time someone says your name with tenderness. The woman doesn't accuse, she welcomes. She lifts a small object from the table, a ring, but not one you gave her, the one she buried with. You didn't know. She smiles and places it gently in the center of the circle. It hums softly, a tone only you can hear. You remember, what you once promised in silence, and what she always forgave aloud. The ring sits in the center of the table, still vibrating almost imperceptibly, like a tuning fork catching the harmony of a memory too subtle to speak. No one touches it, not because they can't, because they won't. This moment belongs to you, and to the name she spoke, the one only the dead seem to remember. This is your name was whispered at midnight. Across time, across skin, across the veil, names act like bells, calling not the body, but the being. And yours? It was called out once, not in prayer, but in grief. You see it now, a figure in a cold room. The hour is late, a candle guttering near the edge of sleep. They speak your name once, softly, half daring the dark to answer back. And you did, not with thunder, but with warmth. A flicker of presence near the window, the feeling of a touch where no one stood. You didn't know how you did it. You only knew they needed something to believe in that night. And you gave it. Some traditions say that souls are most reachable not through ritual, but through need. That longing creates a crack, and names fill it like golden kintsugi. Others believe the whisper of a name at the right hour is stronger than any séance. Back at the table, the child speaks for the first time. I heard you too, she says, not looking at you but into her teacup. When I was sick, you said I'd be okay. I believed you. Your chest tightens. You never meant to be heard. But you were, more than once, by more than one. The flame leans again, this time toward you. And in its bend, you hear dozens, hundreds of voices, all whispering the same name, yours. Not because you're dead, because you're still remembered. The voices fade, not because they stop, but because something deeper settles over them, like a quilt stitched from silence and ceremony. The room darkens, not in shadow, but in stillness. A new object rests on the table now. A porcelain teacup, white, with a delicate crack running from rim to base. But inside, still warm liquid, fragrant, undrunk, untouched. This is the teacup never emptied. No one around the table claims it, but they all look at it with a kind of reverence, like it holds something sacred, fragile, unspoken. You feel drawn to it. The scent rising from the cup is floral, yes, but beneath that is something more haunting. You lean forward. It's your mother's favorite blend, or perhaps your grandmother's, or someone you once served tea to long ago without thinking it would be the last time. The tea ripples once, then again, but no one sips. The child whispers, "It's always been there." You look around, and now you see it. In every séance, in every circle, there is always one offering not meant to be consumed. A cup poured for the soul who doesn't know they're welcome. You reach toward it, And as your hand draws close, you feel something strange. A memory you never claimed. A quiet afternoon, rain tapping the window, someone across from you. No conversation, just steam, porcelain, the shared silence of deep love. You don't remember their name, but the warmth, the way they stirred twice and never clinked the spoon, you remember that. Some say the teacup in a séance holds the parts of a soul that can't be spoken aloud. The sacred moments, the ones never ruined by explanation. Others believe it's where the dead drink memory without swallowing sorrow. You lift the cup. You don't drink, but it's enough to hold it, to feel its weight, and to know it was poured for you. Always was, always will be. There's a hush now, quieter than silence. A softness in the air, like when snow begins to fall and even time holds its breath. And then, someone chuckles. Not loudly. A small, sudden exhale of amusement. It ripples through the table like the clink of a forgotten teacup. The child grins. The woman with the spirit trumpet raises an eyebrow. You feel it too. Something bubbling up from beneath the solemnity. A memory. Lighthearted. Embarrassing. Delightful. This is your laughter left a stain on time. The candle tilts slightly. A projection appears above it. Not smoke, not shadow, but something like a daydream made visible. It's you. Not in death, in life. Mid-laugh. Eyes closed, head back, joy, so unrestrained it seems to echo forever. You forgot this moment, but someone else didn't. The man in the morning suit clears his throat. 1892, he says, smiling faintly. You told a joke about the tailor's cat. I still think about it. You blink. The memory returns. Not the joke itself, but the feeling, the release of it. How everyone laughed, how someone clapped the table, how a woman dropped her spoon and said, "Oh heavens, I needed that." Some say joy ripples further through the soul world than grief. Others believe that laughter, especially the honest kind, stains time like wine on white linen, forever visible to those who know where to look. You realize now, your legacy isn't just the tears, or the love, or the prayers. It's the joy you gave without knowing, the lightness, the relief, the sacred nonsense. And here, even the dead remember to smile. The table hums. The candle flickers not in solemnity but in delight. The spirit trumpet trembles. And somewhere in the distance, someone laughs again, not because of a joke, but because they remembered you. The door creaks wider, but no one moves to open it. It opens on its own. And behind it, not a hallway, not a stair, but a single, ordinary chair. Wooden, worn, empty, this is the chair no one claims. Every séance circle holds one, not for the spirits, not for the guests, but for the unresolved, for the one soul who never finished their story, the one who whispered their name only to themselves. You know this chair, you've seen it in dreams, in waiting rooms that never called your name, in train stations where no ticket matched your destination. You've walked past it your whole life and never sat down, because part of you believed you hadn't earned it. But the truth? It was waiting for you, and has been. Across the table, the others shift slightly, just enough to make room in the silence. The chair doesn't glow. It doesn't speak. It simply waits. Some traditions believe every soul has a seat that cannot be occupied by another, its shape carved from that spirit's specific sorrow and sweetness. Others say the empty chair isn't for you to sit in, but for you to see yourself differently. You rise. Not physically, but inwardly. The part of you still hovering above decisions, above regrets, above rest. You step toward the chair. It doesn't move, but it seems to recognize you. You reach for its backrest. It's warm, not from fire, from welcome. And then slowly, gently, you sit, not as judgment, not as destination, as return. The room doesn't applaud. The candle doesn't sway, but the table breathes differently now, more evenly, more whole. The circle is complete, not because everyone is here, but because you are. Finally, the circle is still now, not frozen, settled. The table, once a surface, becomes a kind of current. You feel it gently flowing beneath your hands, as if the lace were embroidered from memory and moonlight, pulling you into something deeper. And then, a tap, not from wood, not from wall, but from pen. A fountain pen appears beside the candle, antique and feathered in tarnished gold. Next to it, a stack of parchment sheets. Blank, but humming. This is Spirit's use ink too. The pen lifts without fingers, like a swan deciding to fly, and dips itself into a small inkwell that hadn't existed moments before. It begins to write, slowly, deliberately. Across the parchment, words appear in looping, delicate strokes. You lean in. The handwriting is unfamiliar, but the message is not. It reads, "You showed me how to look at stars without needing to name them." Another sheet pulls forward. "I was afraid to speak, but you heard me anyway." And then a third. "You smiled at me when no one else knew I was still alive." You glance at the child. She nods. "It's from us," she says. "From those you forgot you helped." Some say automatic writing is the language of gratitude. When spirits don't know how to thank you out loud, they etch it in invisible ink upon your soul. Others believe it's the soul writing to itself, in a voice too gentle for waking hours. More pages fill. One mentions a time you paid attention. Another, the night you stayed when you could have walked away. Names you do not recall, but whose lives you changed, appear not to ask for anything. Just to say, "We noticed, we remembered, you mattered." The ink glows faintly, then fades, but the message stays, etched not on paper, on presence. You were not forgotten, even by those you forgot. There's a hush now, quieter than silence, a softness in the air, like when snow begins to fall and even time holds its breath. And then someone chuckles, not loudly. A small, sudden exhale of amusement. It ripples through the table like the clink of a forgotten teacup. The child grins. The woman with the spirit trumpet raises an eyebrow. You feel it too. Something bubbling up from beneath the solemnity. A memory. Lighthearted, embarrassing, delightful. This is your laughter left a stain on time. The candle tilts slightly. A projection appears above it. Not smoke, not shadow, but something like a daydream made visible. It's you. Not in death, in life. Mid-laugh. Eyes closed, head back, joy so unrestrained it seems to echo forever. You forgot this moment, but someone else didn't. The man in the morning suit clears his throat. 1892, he says, smiling faintly. You told a joke about the tailor's cat. I still think about it. You blink. The memory returns. Not the joke itself, but the feeling, the release of it. How everyone laughed, how someone clapped the table, how a woman dropped her spoon and said, "Oh heavens, I needed that." Some say joy ripples further through the soul world than grief. Others believe that laughter, especially the honest kind, stains time like wine on white linen, forever visible to those who know where to look. You realize now, your legacy isn't just the tears, or the love, or the prayers. It's the joy you gave without knowing, the lightness, the relief, the sacred nonsense. And here, even the dead remember to smile. The table hums. The candle flickers not in solemnity, but in delight. The spirit trumpet trembles. And somewhere in the distance, someone laughs again. Not because of a joke, but because they remembered you. There's a hush now, quieter than silence. A softness in the air, like when snow begins to fall and even time holds its breath. And then, someone chuckles, not loudly, a small, sudden exhale of amusement. It ripples through the table like the clink of a forgotten teacup. The child grins. The woman with the spirit trumpet raises an eyebrow. You feel it too. Something bubbling up from beneath the solemnity. A memory. Lighthearted, embarrassing, delightful. This is your laughter left a stain on time. The candle tilts slightly. A projection appears above it. Not smoke, not shadow, but something like a daydream made visible. It's you, not in death, in life. Mid-laugh. Eyes closed, head back, joy so unrestrained it seems to echo forever. You forgot this moment, but someone else didn't. The man in the morning suit clears his throat. 1892, he says, smiling faintly. You told a joke about the tailor's cat. I still think about it. You blink. The memory returns. Not the joke itself, but the feeling, the release of it. How everyone laughed, how someone clapped the table, how a woman dropped her spoon and said, "Oh heavens, I needed that." Some say joy ripples further through the soul world than grief. Others believe that laughter, especially the honest kind, stains time like wine on white linen, forever visible to those who know where to look. You realize now, your legacy isn't just the tears, or the love, or the prayers. It's the joy you gave without knowing, the lightness, the relief, the sacred nonsense. And here, even the dead remember to smile. The table hums. The candle flickers not in solemnity, but in delight. The spirit trumpet trembles. And somewhere in the distance, someone laughs again. Not because of a joke, but because they remembered you. There's a hush now, quieter than silence. A softness in the air, like when snow begins to fall and even time holds its breath. And then, someone chuckles. Not loudly. A small, sudden exhale of amusement. It ripples through the table like the clink of a forgotten teacup. The child grins. The woman with the spirit trumpet raises an eyebrow. You feel it too. Something bubbling up from beneath the solemnity. A memory, lighthearted, embarrassing, delightful. This is your laughter left a stain on time. The candle tilts slightly. A projection appears above it. Not smoke, not shadow, but something like a daydream made visible. It's you, not in death, in life, mid-laugh. Eyes closed, head back, joy so unrestrained it seems to echo forever. You forgot this moment, but someone else didn't. The man in the morning suit clears his throat. 1892, he says, smiling faintly. You told a joke about the tailor's cat. I still think about it. You blink. The memory returns. Not the joke itself, but the feeling, the release of it. How everyone laughed, how someone clapped the table, how a woman dropped her spoon and said, "Oh heavens, I needed that." Some say joy ripples further through the soul world than grief. Others believe that laughter, especially the honest kind, stains time like wine on white linen, forever visible to those who know where to look. You realize now, Your legacy isn't just the tears, or the love, or the prayers. It's the joy you gave without knowing, the lightness, the relief, the sacred nonsense. And here, even the dead remember to smile. The table hums. The candle flickers not in solemnity, but in delight. The spirit trumpet trembles. And somewhere in the distance, someone laughs again, not because of a joke, but because they remembered you. The final note of the dance fades into the hush, like dust settling after sunlight's exit. You return to your seat, not breathless, but strangely complete. And then, the child reaches into her pocket. She pulls out a bundle of old papers, folded, worn, speckled with dark ink. She slides them to the center of the table. You lean in. They aren't words, they're shapes. This is ink blots of forgotten dreams. Rorschach-style stains scatter the pages, symmetrical, mysterious. But these aren't clinical tests. They're memories in disguise. Dreams you dismissed. Moments that visited you while you slept. Too vivid to be fantasy. Too strange to believe. The woman with the spirit trumpet leans forward. "We drew them for you," she says. "Every time you woke up and forgot, we painted what stayed behind." You flip through the pages. The first looks like a tree, but bending in the wind of breath, not weather. The second resembles two figures almost touching, but never quite. The third, a spiral with eyes. You remember this from a dream you had as a child. You were falling, but also flying, laughing, but also crying. You told no one, because you thought it meant something was wrong with you. Some traditions suggest that certain dreams are recollections, not fantasies, but flickers of the soul's long journey across lifetimes. Others believe spirits sketch messages inside the mind's sleep, hoping they'll be recognized later when the noise has quieted. You touch the final blot, and it moves, not visibly, but internally, a flutter in your chest, a moment you once imagined, and now realize you lived. In a life not this one, but still yours. The pages begin to fade, but not before the child says, "Don't worry, we kept copies." And you smile, because somewhere in the realm of what dreams remember, you are always awake. The ink fades, and with it, the pages curl into nothingness, like dried leaves folding back into the soil that once cradled them. You exhale softly, as if you, too, are shedding a layer. The table breathes again, and from beneath its lace something rises. Not a vision, not a symbol, a sound. Gentle, familiar. A whispering chorus, voices without mouths, language without words. It surrounds you, and you understand. This is the choir of everything you almost said. The air becomes velvet, your shoulders tense, then drop, because you recognize the sound. It's the echo of unspoken things, of half-started sentences, of looks that meant "I love you" but were never translated aloud. The others at the table begin to hum, not tuneless, not musical, more like breathing with intention. And then, you hear one, clear, specific. It's you saying, "I'm proud of you." But you never said it, not to them, not to yourself. Another, "Please stay." And another, "I forgive you." Tears prick your vision, not from sorrow, from release. Some traditions hold that every unsaid truth becomes a note in the great soul choir, sung nightly into the ears of sleeping ancestors. Others suggest that silence itself is sacred music, waiting for permission to bloom. The child sways gently. The woman with the spirit trumpet hums harmony. Even the morning man taps his fingers to the rhythm. And you add your voice, not aloud, in being. You let the unspoken rise, become vibration, become remembrance, become healing. For a moment, the room feels like a cathedral made of throatless songs. And your soul, so used to speaking through doing, finally sings. Not to be heard, but to feel whole. The sound tapers off like dusk sliding into night. And somewhere, perhaps in the room where you once bit your tongue and looked away, your words finally arrive. And they are met with nothing but love. The last note of the choir dissolves like sugar in warm tea, leaving behind only the soft aftertaste of presence. You sit in silence, not empty, but filled, like a jar that finally caught the rain. And then, a key. Simple, iron. Heavy with metaphor, it appears on the lace, resting atop a square of aged velvet, as if placed there centuries ago and only now remembered. This is the key you gave away too soon. No one touches it, but they all glance toward it, each with different expressions: pity, reverence, nostalgia. You reach for it, and unlike the teacup or the inked pages, it doesn't resist your hand. It wants to be held. And as you grasp it, you remember, not the object, the moment. You gave this key away, willingly, joyfully even. You handed it to someone, figuratively, spiritually, maybe even literally, believing they would open the door for you. And they never did. Some scholars of the spirit world say keys symbolize power given away too soon, too freely, or too naively. Others whisper that some doors were never meant to be unlocked by anyone but you. You feel the cool weight of it in your palm, and a memory returns, a conversation, late at night, when you said, "I trust you, just take care of it." You never got it back. Until now, the woman with the spirit trumpet leans forward. "Want it back?" she asks gently. You nod, and in that nod, something shifts inside you. Not bitterness, not blame, just a reclamation of self. The chair beneath you steadies. The candle's flame burns clearer. The table exhales, subtle but sure. The key begins to warm in your hand. It doesn't unlock a door. Not yet. But it unlocks a part of you. The one that stopped waiting. The one that now remembers. You never needed someone else to open the way. You only needed to hold the key again, and now you do. The key disappears, not by vanishing, but by absorbing, fading back into your palm like a memory becoming blood. It's part of you now, not to be given away again, but to be used when the door arrives. And as if summoned by that thought, a door appears, but not one you walk through, one that opens from you. This is you were the door all along. The table tilts, not physically, but perceptually. Everything around you rearranges itself. Not the walls, not the guests, but the very space between things. The veil thins, and behind your eyes, something softens. A hallway reveals itself. Not ahead of you, inside you, lined with lights, faint, flickering, familiar, each one pulsing to the rhythm of a moment you chose to stay kind when it was easier not to. A door clicks open at the end, not to another realm, to another version of you. She steps out, or he, or neither, just you, in one of your purer forms. The one who danced in the mirror before shame said not to. The one who cried freely before the world taught you silence. The one who believed in the magic of thought alone. You lock eyes, and they smile. Some traditions say the greatest doorway in death is the one that leads back to the parts of ourselves we buried to survive. Others suggest the soul builds rooms across lifetimes, And the bravest thing we do is return and knock on our own walls. You step forward. So do they. You don't merge. You don't dissolve. You acknowledge. With a touch, a nod, a shared knowing. Then they step back into you. The hallway closes, but the light remains, because it was never outside. It was always lit by you, and all you had to do was open. The hallway fades not as something leaving, but as something integrated, like a song you've memorized, now humming quietly in the background of your being. And with its departure, the room shifts again. This time, lower. Not physically, but emotionally. Deeper. As if a cellar you didn't know existed just invited you in. A drawer creaks open at the end of the table. Inside, nestled in red velvet, lies a single object. A lock of hair, braided with a crimson thread. This is a piece of you someone kept. You don't recognize it at first. It feels too simple, too mundane. But as you reach for it, a wave hits. Not memory, devotion. A small, private grief held quietly across years, decades, maybe lifetimes. The child doesn't speak, but her eyes shimmer. The man in the morning suit looks down and folds his hands. This moment is sacred. The woman with the spirit trumpet nods toward you. Someone loved you too long, she says, and never said a word. Some say spirits keep tokens of those they can't forget. Physical pieces of presence like hair or thread that echo across time. Others believe grief turns ordinary objects into relics, charged with meaning only the soul can read. You hold the braid gently. It's not just hair, it's a story. 1,000 quiet evenings, a scent in the collar of a coat no longer worn, a name whispered just before sleep. You feel a face pressed softly into your shoulder, not literally, but spiritually. As if someone somewhere never stopped leaning into your absence. The weight of their silence bends the moment. But it doesn't break you. It breaks with you. Together. The braid glows for just a second, then rests. Because it doesn't need to be returned. Only recognized. Love, unspoken, still survives. Even when the body doesn't. Even when the memory forgets. The braid stills in your palm, and for a brief moment you hear something that doesn't belong to any voice. A sigh. Not from exhaustion, from release. And as it fades, the table shifts again. Not in weight, but in age. It feels older now, more like an altar or a stage. And there, in the middle, resting atop the lace, is an object you thought you'd buried long ago. Your childhood drawing. This is the picture you drew and hid. Folded 4 times, still stained with time and thumbprints. You don't need to open it. You already know what it shows. A house with no windows, a tree with no roots, a figure in the middle, arms raised but not waving, just reaching. You feel the paper's edge between your fingers, and you remember. Not the day you drew it. The day someone found it and asked if you were okay. You said yes, but you weren't. Some traditions believe our first art carries fragments of the soul before language intervenes. Others claim children unconsciously channel the beyond, illustrating visions of the life before, or even the life after. The woman with the spirit trumpet speaks gently. You didn't draw it for anyone else. You drew it so you wouldn't forget. You nod and unfold the paper. It's exactly as you left it, but something new appears. Tiny, in the corner, a handprint, not yours. Someone had touched it in the years since, marked it, blessed it. You feel warmth in your chest, then a flicker behind your ribs. That figure in the center? It wasn't reaching. It was receiving it. You see it now. The picture isn't a cry, it's an invitation. And now, finally, someone has arrived. You, fully. You fold the drawing once more, but this time not to hide it, to honor it, to carry it forward, not as a wound, but as a keepsake. And as it settles back into the lace, something else rises, small, delicate, fragile as frost on glass. A feather. Black at the root, silver at the tip. It floats above the table, spinning slowly, casting the faintest shadow. This is the feather that chose you. No bird enters, no wing beats the air. And yet, you know, this is not a gift from this world, it is a marker. Some ancient cultures believed feathers were chosen by spirits to signal divine presence, selecting the recipient not for holiness, but for readiness. Others believed feathers were memories shed by angels who once loved too fiercely and left behind a piece of themselves as apology. You reach for it. It lands softly in your palm. You feel nothing at first. And then, everything. It is the moment you survived without knowing how. The conversation you didn't have that somehow healed you anyway. The car that stopped just in time. The stranger who smiled when you felt invisible. Each memory presses gently into your skin. The feather begins to glow, faintly, like the edge of a moon behind clouds. The child speaks without looking at you. They picked you because you still listen. The woman with the spirit trumpet adds, because you never turned all the way to stone. And the man in the morning suit murmurs, because you ask the questions no one wants answers to, but need them anyway. The feather vanishes, but in its place, a single word forms on the table. Still. Still here. Still feeling. Still wondering. Still open. The gift wasn't the feather, it was the fact that something noticed you and decided you were ready. The word still slowly dissolves into the lace, as if absorbed not by fabric but by memory itself. Its echo lingers, not as sound, but as an internal rhythm. A heartbeat, a pulse, and then the light changes. Not brighter, not darker, just truer. Like the room has dropped its costume, and resting now in front of you, where the feather once hovered, is a book. Small, leather-bound, unmarked, but heavy, very heavy. This is the book that reads you. You lift it, and it doesn't feel like holding an object. It feels like holding a mirror that whispers instead of reflects. The cover peels back on its own. The pages turn, and you watch. Your life, not as plot points, not as scenes, as meanings. A page with your mother's laugh, not the sound, but the feeling you had when it echoed down the hallway. Another with the moment you forgave someone and didn't even realize it until now. A third? Blank, but warm. It hasn't happened yet. Some say in the afterlife, your soul is shown a book that contains not your deeds, but your resonance. How your presence shifted the air in rooms you never noticed. Others suggest this book is written by every soul you've touched, each one offering a paragraph in the language of subtle salvation. The man in the morning suit clears his throat. They kept writing, even after you stopped believing the story mattered. The woman with the spirit trumpet smiles, and none of them ever erased you. You turn one more page, and this time it reads, they remembered how you stayed. You close the book gently, and for the first time tonight, you feel whole. Not because nothing is missing, but because everything was witnessed. You place the book back onto the table, but its presence doesn't lessen. In fact, it multiplies. You feel it inside you now, like a heartbeat that echoes not just backward, but forward. The candle's flame bends inward for a moment, as though bowing in reverence to the story just told. And now, something new rises, not from the table, from the floor beneath it. A soft rumble, like distant thunder wrapped in velvet. From that rumble emerges an object, a compass, elegant, worn, pointing in every direction and yet nowhere. This is the compass that points to memory. It lands before you with a click. You reach toward it, and the needle spins. Not in panic, in recognition. Each tick of the needle lands not on north, but on moments. The first time you asked, "Who am I really?" The night you held someone while they wept, though you needed weeping too. The time you let go without fanfare, just a quiet goodbye inside your chest. Some traditions say the compass of the afterlife doesn't lead to destinations, but to definitions. Others believe it points not to where you are, but to who you've become. The needle steadies. It points to the side of the table where nothing waits. Just open space. The child tilts her head. It's time. The man in the morning suit adjusts his collar. The woman with the trumpet whispers, "Only if you want to." You rise. The compass spins once more, and this time, it stops. Right at your heart. Not your chest. Your center. It pulses once with warmth, then vanishes. You understand now. You are the direction. You are the destination. And everything you thought you lost was simply waiting for you to return to you. The moment the compass disappears, something quiet arrives. Not a sound, a presence, like breath on the nape of your neck, like the hush that follows a long-awaited answer. A single candle remains lit, but its light begins to widen, not flare, stretch. And within that stretch, you see a door. Unlike the one earlier, which opened from you, this one opens to you. This is the door that waits for your name. It has no knob, no hinges, just a surface that shimmers like the underside of a lake at night. You step closer. Your reflection is there, but not the version you know. This one wears every version of you at once. Young, old, hopeful, broken, brilliant, lost, whole, and each one is looking at the door, waiting. But the door doesn't open. It listens. The woman with the spirit trumpet leans forward. "You can't knock," she says gently. "You have to be called." The child adds, "It's your turn to say who you are." You understand. Some traditions say that the soul cannot pass through to its next becoming until it reclaims its truest name, the one beyond parents, lovers, careers, and wounds. Others whisper that every soul is born with a word that only eternity knows. You step even closer, and in the hush, you speak. Not a name others gave you, the one you always knew deep down, like a pulse beneath all the noise. The candle bends toward the door, and the door opens. Not outward, not inward, but into light. Warm, wide, weightless. You don't step through, not yet. But the invitation is there, not to escape, to continue. And your name? It lingers in the air like perfume in a room no longer afraid of its own beauty. The door remains open, humming in quiet recognition. Its light spills across the table like silk, wrapping each guest in a softness that's almost permission. No one urges you forward. No one pulls you back. They simply wait. And you breathe, not as the person you were, not even as the soul you've become, but as both, in harmony. This is where all the questions sit down. On the table, The lace folds in on itself, forming a perfect square beneath your hands. The candle no longer flickers. It glows steadily, as if time has found its rhythm. The man in the morning suit speaks first. Did you ever wonder why it mattered so much? You tilt your head. He smiles. So did I. The woman with the spirit trumpet adds, every séance was a question. Every silence an answer in disguise. And the child she's drawing now, circles within circles, each one expanding until the edge dissolves. Some traditions say the final threshold is not a gate or a stair, but a moment when the soul simply rests from asking. Others suggest enlightenment isn't a revelation, but the graceful surrender to not needing every answer. You run your hand across the table. There are questions written there now in soft gold. What if I had stayed? Did they know I loved them? Was any of it enough? You trace them with your fingers. And as you do, the questions soften. They don't vanish. They sit down, like old friends too tired to argue, finally content to watch the stars. The room grows quiet, not empty, whole. The door still waits. But now, so do you. Not in hesitation, in peace. Because not every question needs an answer. Some just need witnessing. You look once more around the circle. They're still with you. But something's changed. Not in them, in you. It's the way you see them now, not as ghosts, not as echoes, as companions, keepers of your quieter truths. And in that recognition, something rises from the center of the table. It isn't light, it isn't sound. It's a feeling. This is the memory that remembers you. It has no form, and yet it takes shape. Soft, golden, unfolding like dawn inside a locked room. It shows you, not moments you lived, but moments that lived you. The silence after a goodbye that shook your bones. The joy so pure it made your skin feel like song. The exact second you knew what love cost, and gave anyway. These were not things you captured. They captured you. And now, they return. Not to haunt, but to home. You close your eyes, and you're back. Back in the warmth of your grandmother's kitchen, even though you never saw her again. Back at the bedside of a friend, saying everything with a look because speech failed you. Back under the stars the night you asked, "Why am I here?" The memory holds you like water holds the shape of whatever surrenders into it. And you understand. Some memories don't belong to the past. They're alive. They visit us when we sleep, when we sigh, when we stare too long into the sky. The candle's flame pulls tall, then folds into itself. Its job complete. You open your eyes. Everyone at the table is smiling. And the door? Still open. But now, welcoming. The memory bows once, not to be dismissed, to remain. Inside you, where it always was, waiting to be remembered by something bigger than memory, by you. The memory drifts, not away, but deeper, nestling into your ribs like a lullaby you didn't know you knew. Its echo curls inside your chest, warm as a hand over a candle's flame. The guests don't move, but you sense the moment shifting, the way breath changes before the first note of a song. The door still waits, but something else is now gently rising. A mirror, frameless, floating, polished not by hand, but by truth. This is the mirror that doesn't reflect you. You face it, expecting to see yourself, but you don't. At least, not in the way you're used to. Instead, you see the people you comforted, who never said thank you. The strangers you smiled at, who carried that light home. The ideas you whispered aloud that changed someone's life quietly, permanently. Some traditions say that true mirrors in the spirit realm show not your image, but your impact. Others claim that the soul cannot be seen directly, it is felt in reflection. The mirror shimmers again, this time showing shadows. Your anger, your hesitation, your regrets, but none of them sharp, none of them cruel. All of them honest. You stare, and you do not flinch. The child speaks softly. It's not judgment. The man adds, it's recognition. The woman, it means you're ready. The mirror breathes once, and you feel it. Forgiveness, not granted, owned. You nod, and the mirror bows, then vanishes. Not shattered, not removed, simply finished. What remains is stillness, the kind that follows self-acceptance. You glance again at the door. It no longer beckons, it invites. And for the first time, you step toward it, not to escape, but to arrive. You step toward the open door, not as a visitor, not as a soul unsure of its place, but as something else. As someone who finally remembers their shape. And with each step, the floor beneath you changes. It doesn't creak. It sings. Subtly. Softly. Like your footsteps are tuning forks waking up the very path you're walking. This is the stairway made of your footsteps. The door's threshold reveals not an exit, not a passage, but a staircase made entirely of moments. The first time you held someone and meant it. The first truth you ever whispered without shaking. The first breath you took after forgiving yourself, even just a little. Each step glows faintly as you near it, like it recognizes you, like it's been waiting to be walked by only your feet. Some traditions say that the journey beyond isn't forward or backward, but down into the deep self, where soul and source touch. Others whisper that you build your own stairway across lifetimes, one sacred choice at a time, never realizing it until the climb begins. You ascend, slowly, reverently. There's no rush here. Each step holds you, not because of gravity, but because of recognition. The guests don't follow. They smile, because they're not behind you. They're within you now. You carry the child's wonder, the mourner's patience, the trumpet woman's voice. You pause halfway up, turn, and see the séance room as it really was. Not a room at all, but a reflection of your remembering. Each object, each voice, a part of you helping you come back home. You keep climbing, not because you're leaving, but because you're becoming. And above you, the staircase disappears into something not describable, but known. As you ascend, the staircase beneath your feet softens into mist. It doesn't disappear. It simply stops needing to be solid. Because you no longer need to prove each step. You are no longer climbing toward anything. You're being welcomed. This is the room with no ceiling. You enter it not through a door, but through completion. The space is infinite, but not empty. Filled with gentle light and memory. Not just yours, everyone's. You feel the brush of stories moving past your skin. Lives lived in candlelight and thunder. Grief that became gardens. Laughter that healed wounds deeper than language. You are not watching them. You are part of them. The light here doesn't shine. It remembers. It recognizes you before you speak. You feel your own life unfolding around you like pages fluttering in a breeze. Not chronologically, but soulfully. Each moment not a line, a note. And the song is still being written. Some spiritual traditions speak of the Akashic field, a vast memory of all things, all beings, all feelings, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. Others call it the Library of Light, the mirror of the soul collective. Whatever name you choose, you're in it now. You're of it. Not reading, not observing, being. You feel your name again. Not the one they gave you, but the one the stars whispered when you were born. It wraps around you, not as identity, as belonging. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are light made aware of itself. A thread in an ancient tapestry that only glows when someone asks gently, "Did it matter?" And the answer here is not loud. It is breath. It is warmth. It is always yes. You move through the room with no ceiling as one might drift through warm water, held but unbound. The air hums with recognition, as if the very space is whispering your name in every language you've ever loved. And then, a shape. Vague at first, but becoming clearer. A table. Not like before. Smaller, simpler. Made of what looks like woven reeds and old paper. Upon it rests a single item. A card. Faded at the edges, but pulsing with memory. This is the spirit calling card left for you. You sit, and the table doesn't creak. It breathes. The card is blank on one side, but when you flip it, there is a symbol, not written, etched, so gently it looks like moonlight caught in ink. You recognize it, even though you've never seen it. It's a symbol you once carved into your thoughts during childhood, when you first imagined someone out there was listening. You never showed it to anyone. But here it is, returned. The card begins to warm in your hand. A line appears beneath the symbol, not in handwriting, but in presence. A message. 4 words. You were always heard. Some traditions say spirit calling cards are not left by spirits, but to them, small offerings of memory and hope, folded into pockets, tucked under pillows, whispered into the folds of sleep. Others say spirits return the gesture only when the soul is finally still enough to read the reply. You hold the card to your chest, and for a moment, your entire life rushes back, not as a burden, as a response. You asked, you hoped, you waited, and now you've been answered. Not with certainty, not with proof, with something better, with acknowledgement. And that is the truest reply of all. You stand now, not because it's time to go, there is no time here, but because the moment has gathered its fullness. The card in your hand fades into your skin, not vanishing, integrating. Like ink into paper, like truth into breath. This is the goodbye that never ends. The guests are gone, but not missing. They've folded themselves into you. The child's wonder, the mourner's quiet, the trumpet's echo. They were never strangers. They were always fragments. And now, you are whole. The room with no ceiling begins to soften. Not fade, soften. Edges blur, light curls, and from the center of that dissolving glow, a hallway, your path, woven not of stars or mist, but of everything you ever meant. You take a step, the floor welcomes. Another step, the air nods. Some traditions say there is no end to death, only transformation. That the soul keeps walking through doorways and lullabies, through memory and rain, until it forgets it was ever afraid to begin. Others say the true return happens not when you reach heaven, but when you realize you've always been held by it. The lace returns under your fingers. The candle flickers back into being. But now, the table is empty, because it no longer needs to speak for the silence. You place your hand where the ink once spilled, where the tea once cooled, where the questions once curled. And you whisper something only the dead understand. Thank you. The room sighs, the hallway shimmers, and you walk forward, not away, through.